Hey, what's up, guys? This is Audie from ShastryNation, and today we're going to be talking about the neuron and signals and things like that. All right. All right. So let's go ahead and get started. Okay. So I'm going to try to make this go as quickly as possible. So let's go ahead and get started without any problems. All right. So what we're going to be talking about is the neuron and the action. Neuron and the action potential. So this is basically what my biology teacher called it. So I'm just gonna take the name, whatever, right? All right. So a neuron is basically a nerve cell. Okay, a neuron is a nerve cell that transmits nervous impulses. Now, nervous impulses are in general electrical signals. Okay, are in general electrical signals that are passed through the different parts of a neuron. All right, now these electrical signals are actually called is what is called the known as sorry is actually what is known as the action potential. All right, now let's talk about the parts of the neuron. All right, so oh, okay. So I guess I've already written these down. Let's just go through and talk about them. All right. Okay. So this is a nerve cell. All right. Since I've already written them down, okay. Nerve cell. All right. Now the man, you know what? I should have gotten a picture. Oh well, it's all good. So basically, a neuron is like I said, a nerve cell that does that gives out these signals, things like that. Um, and then this is the nervous impulse. So basically an action potential, like I mentioned above, and then the electrical signal. All right. Now this is my second recording. That's why I've already written these things down because I needed to get like a guided thing. Now I can draw more pictures, things like that. So it's nice. All right. So parts of a neuron, a dendrite. So now a dendrite cell is a dendrite part of the neuron is basically like an antenna, like I mentioned here. All right. So an antenna, and it receives messages. Now don't think of this as a receptor neuron. We're gonna talk about what that is later. But it receives messages, so it's not like So it'll be like receiving I mean, I guess it is more like a receptor neuron. It's part of that part of a thing, and so it's going to receive actual messages, like heat, pressure, things like that. All right. Now, these are going to be small and multi-branch. So now you want to try, since there's only one, dendrite that you can use for a certain thing, you need to be able to, have multiple dendrites be able, to do different things. So you're going to need one dendrite, for every single, one dendrite for every single stimulus that you want to be covered for every single part of your body. Now, obviously you're not going to have one dendrite for every square centimeter of your body. So it's going to use branches to actually reach all those places. All right. So then you have now you have the cell body. All right. So I had to put on some chapstick. All right. So then you have the cell body. So the cell body would actually be the cell. So this would be the cell right here. If you look at this photo right here. All right. So this would be the cell right here. You'd have the basic parts of the cell. So you'd have like, the nucleus, you'd have the ribosomes, the mitochondria, all of that type of stuff you'd have in that cell. And all these different things would act differently. Now, obviously, you're going to have some extra parts in the cell because it is a neuron and it's not an actual body cell. Now, if you look at any part of the cell, like they're going to develop differently. So if you look at different parts of your body, they're going to develop differently. And basically that what I'm trying to say is you're going to have different parts inside the cell. That's about it. All right. Now you also branching off the cell body, you have the axons, which are like small, tube-like things that actually transmit signals through through electricity or like electrical signals. All right. So now, when you go and ask someone randomly on the street, what part of your body actually transmits signals, they're going to be like, oh, your nervous system or the nerves inside your body, right? So now, I haven't mentioned nerves anywhere here, right? Right here, it's right here. Okay, but anyways, bundles of axons are actually known as nerves. So if you have a ton of axons in one place, now they're gonna be in the same place, so you can transmit signals, things like that. All right, so bundles of axons, all right, those are called nerves. All right, that's it. Okay, so that's all I have to say about that. Okay, so then you have the synaptic terminal. All right, the synaptic terminal, what it is that it's like the end of an axon when it's passing it off to a cell. So you're gonna have an axon that's gonna end, and then so this would be the axon right here. So axon that's gonna end, and then you're gonna have a cell that's gonna take in that signal, all right, and then pass it off to wherever it needs to pass off. Now the this part of the gap here is called the oh man, I can never pronounce this. Synaptic cleft, all right, and then this is what, this like the little gap that's in between the cells, all right. The cell is the axon is going to have a storage of neurotransmitters that are like molecules or atoms of ions. They're basically ions of a certain kind that's going to pass off information through it. So it's going to depending on what type of ion is sent, it's going to facilitate different types of reactions and different axons being being sent to, things like that. All right, so I guess that is it for that. All right, now let's go back up here. All right, so we have, like I was saying, we have types of neurons. So we have the receptors. Now, receptors I already talked about like a few minutes ago. Receptors are going to be the thing that's going to receive the stimulus. So you're going to have, heat, like I said, heat receptors, pressure receptors, water receptor, things like that, that's going to regulate stuff and figure out, how you can, maintain homeostasis and how you can, do all that type of stuff. All right. So that's that. Okay. And then you have the effectors. All right. So for this, in order to talk about this, I feel like if we talk about, the very, I guess, basic example, not a basic example, but like the most overused example when it comes to signals and things like that, which would be if you got too close to a fire and you touched the fire, all right, what's going to happen is that the heat receptors on your hand, let's say you touched it with your, you went too close with your left hand, all right, the heat receptors, what they're going to do is it's going to observe, it's going to get that heat. It's going to be like, oh, whoa, it's too hot in here. All right. It's going to send off a signal. Okay. Now that signal is going to travel across your hand, through your arm, and then go all the way down to your spine. The spine will then send it up to your brain, to that part of your brain. And then the motor, skills, I guess, part of your brain. That part of your brain will send it back to your hand to the effector cells, the effector neurons, and then the effector neurons are going to cause your muscles to contract and then pull your hand away from the fire. And that's all of that is done in like a matter of milliseconds, because if it took a lot of time to do that, your hand would be burnt. It's pretty cool. All right. Now let's talk about the sodium-potassium pump. All right. Now the sodium-potassium pump is actually pretty important when it comes to neurons and things like that. All right. You have your basically what this membrane thing that I drew here, this wavy line. The inside would be the axon. All right. So it's gonna be like you're gonna have your bundle sheet solids, things like that. Okay, sure, but you're gonna have like your axon right there. All right, now the axon, what it's gonna do is it's gonna be in an area where there you have sodium ions. All right, sodium ions, and then you have potassium ions. All right, so the sodium ions are going to be pumped out of the axon, and then the potassium ions are going to be pumped in. All right, so for every 3 sodium ions that are pumped out, so notice how I have 3 dots here, okay, 2 are going to be pumped in. All right, so you're going to have, 2 potassium ions are going to be pumped in. So let's say we had 3 or 5 ions in total. All right, so 3 of those would be the sodium ions, and those would be on the outside, okay? And then the 2 would be the potassium ions, and those would be on the inside. All right. So you're going to have 3 on the outside, 2 on the inside. Now, notice how I said negative here. Now, you might be asking, hey, look, potassium is also, if it's an ion, then it's positive, right? Why would you say it's negative? Well, hear me out 1 second. Okay, I'm going to try to explain your question. All right. But anyways, if you look at it, if we only had 5 ions in total in this whole system here, 3 would be on the outside, 2 would be on the inside, like I wrote down here. So 3 plus outside, 2 plus inside. Okay, so if each of those are positive, then they're going to have 3 plus outside, 2 plus inside. Now, the outside is going to be more positive than the inside if you look at it. Okay, so it's going to be 1 more positive than the inside. And so the inside is seen to be relatively, let me write that in bold, I guess, relatively negative. Okay, relatively negative. Not negative, but relatively negative when compared to the outside. Now, this is called the resting potential. So this is what's, since sodium and potassium ions are diffusible across the membrane, sodium ions are going to keep diffusing in, and then potassium ions are going to keep diffusing out, things like that. Now, the sodium-potassium pump, is going to try to keep its equilibrium state, to try to keep, to try to keep it at resting potential until, something comes in, signal comes in, and that stuff happens. All right. So this is called resting potential. So write that down. Pretty important. All right. And we will move on to the parts of, like an actual signal being sent. All right. So I think I wrote that down. No, this is, I thought I wrote it down somewhere. Let's see if I can find a spot. Wow, I am all over the place. Let's see 1 second. Let's see if we can find a spot. Ah, there we go. That's good. All right, let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so the first stage of this would be depolarization. All right. So depolarization, what's happening here is that if you have your membrane, okay, and you have the your partially your negative on the inside, yeah, okay, and then you're positive on the outside, and you have your sodium potassium pump here, things like that. You're gonna have this gate, okay, that's going to basically open, okay, and all of these positive Na plus ions are going to rush in, okay, and then the sodium ions are going to also rush in. The sodium ions are going to rush in. The K plus ions are also going to stay in, okay, and so that'll change the charges. So now the new charge I'm going to write in red, okay. So the new charge would be negative on the outside, positive on the inside, because all of these molecules are rushing into the axon. So now this is how a nervous I guess transmit is a stimulus is actually transmitted. Okay, so an electrical signal. This is basically what what I mean by an electrical signal. Okay, so this positive ion, it's gonna carry over to the rest of the molecule. All right, sorry, not the molecule, the rest of the axon. Okay, so this part's gonna be positive, and then since this is positive, this is going to release it's going to send in Na plus molecules. This will make this positive, this negative, and things like that, and it's going to go all the way across the thing. All right, so now step 2. Step 2 is basically a subsection of step 1, I guess. And so basically it, like I mentioned, it makes the Na plus molecules rush in. Okay. Third step would be, the cytoplasm is depolarized. These are all subsections. Sorry, I should write like 1A or something like 1A, 1B or something like that. Okay, and then 1B would be the cytoplasm. Basically, the fluid inside of this is depolarized. Okay. Now let's go on to the step 3. Step 2. Okay, so step 2 would be Na channels are shut. So Na plus channels are shut because the signal has passed by, so we want to try to get back, repolarize ourselves so we can receive another signal, right? Now, so the Na plus are shut. The Na plus channels are shut, so we're not going to let in any more sodium ions, okay? And then the third step would be that the K plus, potassium plus ion channels open. So they're going to push out, the potassium ions are going to be pulled in because we want the potassium ions on the inside and then the sodium ions on the outside. All right. So basically, this is what we call the repolarizing phase. Okay. And then we have the refractory period. Okay, so 4 would be the refractory period. Okay, now the refractory period, well, how best I can describe this is with a graph. Okay, so now let's look at this. Okay, so we're at resting potential. This would be resting potential. All right, so resting. Resting potential. Okay, so we're at resting potential, and then suddenly a signal comes in. Okay, so we're gonna be, let me write that in blue or something like that. Okay, so suddenly a signal comes in, we shoot up. Okay, so we're way up here, so the inside is way more positive, okay, than that. Okay, so the inside is way more positive, so a signal. Okay, and then that signal is going to, once that signal goes away, we're going to try to come back to resting potential because we want to send more signals, right? Basically, at this point, at rest, once we pass the, once we're at the depolarization phase, the repolarization and the depolarization phase, we can't send any more signals. This axon can't be used to send signals. Now, we're gonna have tons of other axons that we can use, but this one can't be used. All right. So don't think about it like, oh, once I touch fire or something like that, I can't feel the heat of fire for a few milliseconds or something like that, because you can use some other, part, some other axon that's not being used. Okay. All right. So now the axon is going to try to repolarize itself, and so this would be the repolarizing phase. All right. I'll write that in yellow. Okay, so repolarizing phase. Okay, so this would be the repolarizing phase, and then now what's gonna actually happen? What's gonna happen is that we're gonna have, if we take this as the resting potential, okay, the repolarizing phase is going to overshoot it, so it's going to be way down here. Okay, so now we are way more negative than we have to be. Okay, Let me go ahead and erase it because that's going to get in the way of the graph. Okay, but now it's up to the axon to get back to resting potential, and this would be the refractory period. So this is going to go back up, and then it's going to go back here. Okay, and then we're going to continue ourselves. Okay, so the pink, or I guess sort of purplish pink, would be the refractory period. Okay. All right, so that would be the refractory period, and then we'd be done. Okay, so that's about it. That's how a signal is sent. So you're gonna start out in the resting potential. You're gonna get a signal. It's gonna go all the way up, and the repolarizing phase is gonna bring it all the way down, way too far down, almost, and then it's gonna bring it back up to the refractory period, and then we're gonna be good, and we're gonna be polarized again. All right, goody. Okay, and then after the refractory period, obviously the the Na and the Na sodium pump, the sodium potassium pump, sorry, will I said Na, so basically sodium pump. All right, but anyway, the sodium potassium pump is going to bring back concentration to normal. So 5 would be the NaK pump will bring to normal. Okay, and that's about it. All right. So now some things that I needed to talk about were okay. I should start doing that. I don't know if you guys tell me if you guys want me to do more like PowerPoint type stuff, like I did for my my first video, I believe, the photosynthesis video. If you would like me to do more PowerPoint-ish type stuff, I could make a PowerPoint and then present it to you guys, basically. That would be awesome, too, if you guys are willing to do that or want me to do that. I'd be more than happy to do that. Or if you guys like me to do one of like these where I can draw, things like that, and it's more free, that I can do, too. The PowerPoint ones, I think, are going to... I personally think the PowerPoint ones are going to be way more guided than these. I always go off on tangents and things like that. But if you guys want the extra, the extra information, or, like figure out, like, hey, this is what he thinks about this, this is how he remembers it, things like that, then, you guys can tell me otherwise. But if you don't want that, and you only want to learn exactly what you have to learn, then I could do the PowerPoints. So whichever ones you guys like, you guys let me know, and I'll be doing those. Okay, but the other thing is the PowerPoints. Yeah, PowerPoints. I think I might do a PowerPoint for the next one. That might be better. That might be more interesting, I believe, to do. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what I can do. All right. Okay, yeah, but that's about it. One thing I needed to talk to you guys about this before I go off on that tangent again. Okay, is that. When I was telling you that a certain, you have to have a certain amount, in order for a signal to actually pass, you need to reach a certain threshold, like I was mentioning before. Or maybe I didn't. I don't remember. Okay, but anyways, you need to reach a certain threshold. So a threshold has to be met. So like, it has to be... in order for a receptor to realize that it's hot, you need to be above a certain temperature. So if you go and touch something that's not hot, or like near I guess room temperature, like 30 degrees Celsius or something like that, or 70 degrees Fahrenheit, you're not gonna feel any impulse from that. You're gonna feel like all you're gonna feel is that it's but whatever it feels like, the texture, that's all the impulse you're going to get. Okay, that's about it. And then you can't really make signals stronger. The signals can't be stronger. So like if something is hotter than something else, the strength is determined by how many signals are sent off. So like how many thresholds are met. So think of it like that. Like if I touch something that's warm, I'm not going to get that much of a signal. I might keep my hand on it, because it's warm. But if I get something that's scalding hot, I'm gonna get like, I'm gonna yank my hand away as fast as possible, because that signal is, that strong to where it can, it can throw, it can, I guess, start like a sequence of like 5 or 6 times more than the warm one. So it's more of how many times the signal is being transferred more than more than how strong it is. So that's what determines strength, basically. All right, let's talk a little bit about axons. 1 second. I forgot to mention this, but axons, if we talk about axons, we talked about axons, things like that. Okay, so axons, you're going to have things like this. It's going to be a little tube. Now, in order to send off signals faster, you're going to have myelin sheaths. Okay, so this would be like a myelin sheath. So it's a myelin. Okay, I'm almost done with this video, so I'm going to go ahead and quickly finish this off. Okay, so you're going to have myelin sheaths. Now, myelin sheaths, what they're going to do is they're going to send signals faster, all right? It's like an insulation for it, So you're going to have, like, just like you have, like, insulation for power cords, things like that. Think of it like that. So, like, the plastic coating around a power cord, that's what basically a myelin sheath is. Now, myelin sheaths are going to make it go faster. Now, also another thing is, so makes it goes faster, makes it go faster. All right, the myelin sheath's gonna make it go faster, and then you're gonna have, I don't know, if you have wider axons, so wider. Okay, wider axons are gonna make it also go faster, so faster if it's wider. Now, correct me if I'm wrong on that, but I think that is true. If it's wider, it is faster. All right, that's about it. That's all I had to talk about. Okay. So yeah, I might do these, where I previously write these, or maybe if I just did it, made a PowerPoint or something like that. Now, that is going to take a little bit more time to prepare, but I feel like the amount of learning will be increased. I'll be talking about the exact same stuff. The stuff that I want to talk about if I use a PowerPoint, whereas if I didn't, then, I might skip over some things. So yeah, that's about it for this video. Go ahead, and if you guys are not subscribed yet, I would go ahead and subscribe. I do a biology video every Monday, or at least I try to. I do a biology video every Monday, and I'm trying to do a bunch of discussion videos and things like that for the future, and things like that. Fridays I do whiteboard videos, or at least I try to again. Those take a lot of time, but you guys definitely like those, so I'm going to do them, and things like that. And I guess that's about it. I will see you guys on the next one.